All right, Matt Monarch. Wow, Matt, it's been a long time since me and you have connected. Actually, I think we're probably go back to when Catch a Healthy Habit Cafe was in West Haven. You and
Oh,
Angela, on a couple different occasions, came and spoke to pretty large audiences, and it was great to have you in Connecticut at the time. But you're long away from here. Where are you right now? Where are you sitting?
on the other side of the country in California, San Fernando Valley, Porter Ranch, California.
Okay, and you're not too far from children and wife?
Yep, they're right in the living room right here.
That's cool. So, um, what I was just hoping to do is just really reconnect with you and hear your story. I've been a little delinquent as far as kind of following all that you've been up to. Just recently watched a couple Angela's videos too on YouTube, and they were
hmm
awesome. I got some catching up to do with her.
hmm
But and maybe her and I can get on this and do a podcast sometime in the near future. Um,
Yeah, she might be interesting.
yeah, but with you, let's talk. I mean,
Yeah.
what has been the most exciting part of your life as of recently? What's new and good? Let's say that. Let's start off on a high note.
The best thing that's new and good is having my family back with me in the United States. I wasn't really doing well in Ecuador. The altitude was really high. I was ending up into issues over there. Many people don't know this, but I had gotten sick to the point where I almost died. I feel like it has a lot to do with spiritual issues. I was a very popular raw vegan, 23 years doing raw vegan guy. I no longer am raw vegan. And, I'm also the superfoods guy. I bring new products that have never been seen before to the market that helps in people's healing and things like that. So we'll get into that a little bit too. We'll probably talk about my story. But I went through an issue where my business got infiltrated and I pretty much lost everything. It's a very long story.
Well, let's Matt, before
Yeah,
we do that, let's just get right into your business, what it was, what it is, and then we
yeah,
can backtrack from there.
yeah. So anyway, I had to come back to the United States to look into this business thing, recover my health, and I had to leave my family for a portion of the time, and that was like the most difficult. So probably like 4 to 6 months. Angela knows numbers really well. I wasn't around my children. I had a 3-year-old and an 8-year. Well, she's 4 now, and an 8-year-old, and it was just breaking my heart. So what's new in my life and is great, like I've been with my family here in California for 3 months straight, and I'm like delighted. It was the best times of my life.
Wow. Okay. And is the name of the business the same as it was prior to the
They
problem?
both were. I wasn't sure what was happening with the business and being infiltrated and who was going to win the URL battle that was stolen from me, but I got it in the end. So the rawfoodworld.com works, but I have the main one as matt-monarch.com for now. I'll probably switch it back over at some point, but matt-monarch is where to go.
Okay. And I mean, I remember from when it all kind of got going with you, what were some of your really early finds in the superfood world? What were some of the things that you're really proud of, kind of being one of the front runners in getting to the people?
Yeah, back in the day, we were just in the process of getting the most highest quality superfoods. For example, we would pretty much get products that were not watered down with other ingredients. That's what we were really popular for. Many companies, for example, we don't have Yukon syrup right now, but back in the day, when it took off with Dr. Oz, we sold out in a day, and then we tried to take a whole supply of Peru, and then they gave me a price, and then the next day they said we can't sell it to you because the price is doubled, so you have to double or triple the price because everybody was trying to get it. But anyways, people were watering it down with mesquite syrup. People were using GMO maca I actually saw pictures of ones the size of basketballs, the maca, when they're supposed to be like tiny. Ours are just wild. You know, we have the best chlorella, all the best superfoods you can possibly imagine. And we'll talk about some new ones that are out recently that I'm really proud of also. But yeah, back in the day, like for example, Cacao Powder, most people are used to like a sweet tasting Cacao Powder. That means it's 85% maltodextrin, because when you use maltodextrin, you spray it onto the maltodextrin and it ends up being like 85%. And our Cacao Powder didn't taste, it was bitter because that's the way it's supposed to be. And it was like 100% pure Cacao Powder. So back in the day, and we don't have Cacao Powder right now, but back in the day, we were in the forefront of getting the highest quality, non-GMO, just zero bad ingredients, one ingredient superfoods on the planet. So I'm really proud of that. And we had a huge customer base back then at that time. And, you know, we're doing good now, you know, but I've gone through, we could talk about that if you want later.
Yeah.
But you know, I was in the forefront of the CBD oil movement before it went down with, you know, the FDA wanting to take it over for the pharmaceutical companies, and before it became illegal. There's ways to get around it. We have a little dinky website where you can buy the CBD, but it's on our Square site, but it's not on our main website because our credit card processor won't allow us. But we came out with the first 100% raw CBD oil. People actually can, you know, feel the difference. It's just very powerful. We've been selling that for years, so I'm proud of that. Yeah, I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head right at this moment. But you know, we had Ormus products, like straight pure Ormus. We don't have this right now either. I could get it though, but it was just like so powerful. You just take a little bit and you just feel it. It was just insane.
So, Ormus is an interesting product, so to say. What would be some importance behind Ormus, or better way to explain it so people understand what Ormus is and what it may or can possibly do?
Yes, it's a very vibrational energy. For example, like it kind of like raises just by itself. For example, spider webs are made out of Ormus, and you just see like spider webs kind of like just raise real slowly by themselves and stuff like this. And the person who found it, I forgot his name. I think it was David something. Anyways, he's just a huge proponent in the in the discovery of Ormus. And the guy we found kind of duplicated his formula and kind of worked with him on one level to get it. And it was just very powerful and potent. They say Ormus is very healing. There's no clinical studies on this. This is just a product it's like an energetic product. They said that the Ormus that we carried, if you like take it every single day for a long period of time, it'll start getting a ringing in your ears and start, you know, like opening up I guess you could say the third eye, the spiritual aspects of certain things. And you start hearing a little bit more, and then it could get to the point where it's just like too much and you don't want that in normal day life. I mean, I've heard many different things and aspects of like what Ormus can do. And there are people who claim that it can heal every disease, but people claim that about mostly everything. There's no like clinical studies or proof. There are a lot of clinical studies about other products like maca and yacon syrup and all these other things we scared. I used to teach people about those.
Let's delve a little bit into the world of raw food and your journey, because that's how we kind of came across each other when Get Your Healthy Habit first opened up. Actually, we had been connected before that, but you know, we were basically Connecticut's only raw food cafe. And even though we're not all raw now, we brought in quinoa bowls and gluten-free toast and things like that. Raw food, the raw food movement, raw food restaurants were kind of like a thing back in like 2003, 4, 5, 6. I would say that was kind of like the height where you can go, and we did a few times, go to New York City, hit up a Pure Food and Wine, hit up a few different places, and really have fun in that kind of raw food arena. It's severely lost its luster, so to say.
Yeah.
I've got my thoughts on that, but I'd love to hear. It seems like you've physically endured that at an intense level. So why don't you talk a little bit about maybe the pitfalls of raw food as pertaining to you?
Sure. When I first started the raw food diet, I was doing it for 23 years straight, 100% raw, no cheating ever. And in the beginning, I was detoxing like crazy. And the people getting me into this were into colonics and enemas, and they were teaching me like, you should do that. When I would get in colonic while doing the raw food diet, it removed the detox. It was like almost cheating the process. And it gave me this kind of like high of some kind, like cleaning out all toxins, not eating any mucus forming foods. I was like high all the time. I was like running 1,000,000 miles per hour. And the issue was the people I was around and myself, I didn't know if I could do the raw food diet with actually not doing the enemas. I got addicted to the enemas, and I was doing them every day for over a decade. And that was part of my downfall. I feel like the biggest part of my downfall was the spiritual aspects. But do I think I don't know if I could have done the raw food diet without the enema. I don't know. Like I never tried. I was almost like towards the end, before I got sick, I started to do it. But it wasn't working for me. I almost died, ended up in the hospital, and got out and started experimenting with other things.
And during the time when you were considering yourself a raw foodist, what
Yeah.
was a day in, day out kind of normal, not a pure food and wine visit like we did, just more like, hey, you're at home, you're chilling, what are you eating? What are you drinking? What was like the normal kind of day to day for you when all was well?
I went through different phases as the years went by. And when I went to Ecuador, the air was like so pure and clean, high altitude. Like I ended up lessening my meals to twice a day. For a while, I was eating once a day. But what I can remember the most, what my everyday was I'd eat for breakfast, I'd have like a bunch of sugar fruit, not too much if I could control myself, but I would do a bunch of sugar fruit like persimmons or figs or something like that. And then that'd be my meal in the morning. I would be drinking vegetable juices, which I can't do anymore. And then in the end of the day, my second meal, usually my final meal, I would do a huge salad with avocado and tomatoes. I would pretty much endulse the seaweed to make it salty. I would mush the avocado in the salad with the dulse, and then I would kind of just like massage. I would put the tomatoes in so I don't squish them into crazy nothing, and I would just mix them in the salad. And then I would just eat this huge bowl of salad that was meant for like 4 people.
Wow. And what about smoothies? Did they have a role at any point during that? I consider myself not so much of an addict, but I just enjoy, doing smoothies nowadays. And of course, it's easy working at a raw food cafe.
Yeah.
But what kind of role did smoothies play?
Well, my kids eat smoothies all the time but me personally, I was into the juices. There was like this whole entire blended versus juicing thing back in the day. Anyways, I was just really into juices. I would literally do like 3 minimum a day, probably around 3, different phases for different times of my. Another reason why I probably needed the enema is like if I drink a juice now, which I can't anymore, it's just like gas like crazy. I just can't deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was never really a smoothie person. I would rather eat like the dripping wet figs of fruit without blending it, and the persimmons that are like soft. Like that's what I was doing.
Okay. And what about the salads? Were you a garden guy? Did you grow a lot of your own stuff? Did you do the farmers markets? Where did that food come when you were in the height of kind of really focusing on what you're eating?
When we were in the USA, I was a farmers market addict. I would go to every single one of them, get there early. And when I was in Ecuador, we started to grow our own food, and we got our lettuce from there.
Wow. what were some really cool things that you were able to grow in Ecuador and just literally walk out, pick, eat, and like enjoy?
You know, like butter lettuce. I would do a lot of kale salads. We grew dino kale. You know, we had everything: broccoli, cauliflower, onions, you know, the smaller onions, the scallions. Um, we had a big greenhouse, like that was huge, the size of this apartment we're in. And there were tomatoes and cucumbers. My daughter loved like the cucumbers that were like miniature, and she would just eat them before they grew. It's funny.
And at some point during this time, you and Angela were doing retreats, right?
Yeah, we did retreats in Ecuador, which was very popular. Everyone sold out. We had a huge retreat center in Ecuador, and people would literally fly out, and we would, you know, have 35 people at every retreat, and we would have a raw food chef. It was 100% raw. Actually, we had some whole food options like you do at your shop. Yeah, and that was a very powerful, fun experience for people.
Okay. All right, let's fast forward a little bit to the
Right.
beginning of your quote unquote health challenge. Like what were the red flags that were popping up that something was wrong or some changes needed to be made?
Um, so spiritually, I kind of like, okay, so I ended up making a ton of money. I became, you know, I had over $1 million. I was doing extremely well. And I touted it. And spiritually, I kind of lost my protection on some level. I lost everything: the retreat center due to stupid idiocracy on my part. And at that point, what what was the question? So I could come right back around to it. Like, what was? Oh, my health. Okay, so I allowed this person into my life who convinced me of many things, and I would feel like heightened spiritual energy around the guy. I just like, he was almost like acting as like a sponsor of what I believed in, and lied to me on some level. And I believed it so wholeheartedly, I started to let him control my life. He turned me away against my wife, and he, like this trickery. He was into black magic and stuff like this, which I don't condone. I ended up doing drugs at the time, like hard drugs. He would say things like it helps rewire your brain for the spiritual aspects and things like this. I did see things, which was pretty crazy. And over time, my health started to decline, not because of the drugs or anything like that, but spiritually, I had allowed attachments from, I don't know what you want to call it. Many people call it different things, evil entities, and certain religions, they call them demons. I don't, whatever you want to call it, but like tentacles attaching to you and stuff like that. And my weak point happened to be my colon from doing enemas every single day. And one of the things that ruined my colon was I was taking a Health Force product called Truly Natural Vitamin C, and it had, this is where I discovered the issue with maltodextrin. It had maltodextrin in it. It was really sweet. And that should have been a bitter product if it was real. And I later learned that it like is really bad for the colon. And one day I had blood coming out of my stool. Anyway, so these attachments went to my point of weakness and just nailed me. I lost my protection, spiritual protection, I believe. And I was just being drained to the point of almost death. So do I think it was raw foods, enemas, or anything like that? I would say that the number one thing was the spiritual aspects and being an idiot with certain things that brought me down to that level of almost dying. But because of this, I'm no longer able to eat much fruit. I could do blueberries. I could do salads, no problem. But I can't do other fruits. like I don't bleed anymore. I healed myself. But for some reason, every once in a while, I would eat some fruit, and all of a sudden I start bleeding, and I'm like, I gotta stop it. This is crazy.
Wow.
So I pretty much have changed my diet. I don't eat 100% raw. I became so sensitive for doing it for 23 years. I can't eat crap because my body will just reject it. So I pretty much do a cooked whole foods diet with salads and things like that.
Okay. So what are some foods that you're eating differently that maybe you hadn't really consumed for 23 years that you're really, really enjoying?
Baked potatoes with butter. I really like butter. I eat eggs on occasion. Sometimes, I'm Jewish from birth, and matzah was a favorite thing of mine, egg matzah, and I just put butter all over it. On occasion, I'm not going to be perfect. Like I went to a restaurant called Chipotle's the other day, and it's all like natural food on the inside. I don't really eat meat. I do eat fish. But so that had a flour tortilla. Like, I know that's like sinful in the raw foods movement. I don't do that often. We usually get like from the supermarket. I don't go out to eat much. We get like chickpea tortillas or what's that? Cassava flour tortillas, things like that.
Yeah.
And I can make a quesadilla. My child loves quesadillas, so I make them for her.
And have you, this was the big thing for Lisa and I when we kind of went the same route, basically eating a whole foods, some cooked food, whole food stuff. And we both kind of simultaneously were trying to find a good pizza place. And obviously this was kind of before Matthew Kenny really came blaring back on the scene with like 00 or whatever it's called in New York City. And we really couldn't find one. So recently we found a local place here in Fairfield that makes their own gluten-free dough, and I have it. I'm still not doing the cheese. She'll do quality cheese at some time, but we found that pizza and we have it maybe once or twice a month, and we really enjoy it. So do you have that kind of maybe once or twice a month you'll kind of indulge a little bit in something?
Yeah, you could say that. I don't eat meat. I only eat fish. I guess you could call me a pescatarian, but every once in a while, yeah. For example, I'll eat sushi every once in a while, like in a blue moon, and a flour tortilla every once in a while in a blue moon.
And so we kind of really went into the eating and all that stuff. Talk about your life since getting sick, and what else are you doing, like from an exercise standpoint, from your mind standpoint? How are you strengthening all your senses and your body?
Well, literally 2 years ago, I was like a yogi expert. I could do the splits. I could do all sorts of things. I could do a handstand on the arms of a chair. And when I almost died, I couldn't walk for 8 months. Like, that's how bad it got, until like I even went on meds. I was convinced, first off, by the person who was a trader, by me. I'm against meds, as you know, but the bleeding finally stopped, and I got rid of the meds. It was hell, headaches and stuff like that. I don't take Tylenol, but when I was weaning off the meds, it helped me get through it, and it saved me. I wouldn't have been able to do it without it. But those meds are just horrible. I could have healed, I feel like, without the meds. It was more of like a trial and error, what I can eat and what I can't eat. But I didn't know I had to eliminate most fruits and things like this. So, you never know. I'm a believer in God. There were times where I prayed and like for healing, and I felt some major like release of like stuff happening. That was incredible. So I think that had a huge part of it. If we go a little deeper, my faith is Jesus. Not that, I don't ever try to convert people or anything like that. I just do my own thing, and I respect what everybody else does. But I was healed by him, I feel like, on some level too. So there's like a lot of aspects: the spiritual healing, the trial and error with diet, and getting nutrients through different superfoods and supplements and things like that. So today, with my health and like things like that, it's unfortunate, but I lost a lot of vigor. I was up to walking 4 miles, 5 miles a day after getting sick. I tried to go back to Ecuador, and I had some more issues out there with all of this, and my health started declining again. So I came back out here. I'm finally off the meds, and I'm having, I don't know if it's from the meds or whatever, but I've just lost, it's unfortunate. Number one, I'm just glad to be alive. But right now, I might walk 2 miles max. Right now, maybe just 1 mile. It's unfortunate. It's like I'm starting over again. So in terms of my health being back, I'm working on it the best I can. But I went through a lot over the last year. I couldn't walk for 8 months. I atrophied a lot. I went to doctors, meds messed me up, all sorts of things. But now I'm off the meds, working on my health and doing the best I can, pretty much. It's just crazy what can happen in 2 years to a person. So my recommendation is to be grateful for what you got. I'm grateful that I'm just alive and that I can even walk. But anything can happen at any time, and it's always good to be the best person you can be, because I believe that our actions can change the result of our health in the long run, also amongst, the health foods and stuff like that.
Well, let's go there. Let's go to the health food. So let's go to some of the research I'm sure that you did when you were kind of going through this situation. And what were
Sure.
some of the supplements, the minerals? What were some of the things that you brought into your world that you felt played a role in getting you back to being a healthy human?
Yeah, I mean, number one was trial and error, spiritual aspects, and stuff like that. But there was a bunch of products that I was taking also to help me. There was a product, it's a new marine phytoplankton we came out with. It's called Tetrasod. It's unfortunately very expensive. I tried my best to negotiate it as down as far as possible. But it's a special strain of marine phytoplankton that when you take 1 cap, you literally get half the recommended daily dosage of vitamin B12. 1.2 micro mcgs or something like that. And if you take 2 caps, you're pretty much getting all the B12 you need in a day. And this is incredible for vegans because it's absorbable. It's all the B12 you need. It's a food. It's actually a superfood. It's like a very profound marine phytoplankton. When I was trying to get the cost down, they're like, no, we could water it down with chlorella if you want. No, I'm like, I need this just one ingredient. This is what I do. So it's called Tetrasod at our website, matt-monarch.com. And it's this marine phytoplankton in caps. And I put it in caps so it could be the exact dosage necessary to get half your B12. And if you have the ability to take 2 a day, you got all the B12 you need. Also, the taste of it is very special. It's got like this seaweedy taste, which can be an incredible ingredient for raw foodists. They actually use it in culinary. When you see a chef actually put this on their dishes, like their fish or their sushi or whatever they're using it for, they just light up and like a light bulb goes off, thinking all the different things they could do it. Like just putting this like green, like put it in oil and then it's like a little green. You can put it on your sushi. It has this very tasty ocean tasting taste that is just incredible to die for. And when I was raw, trying to figure things out, I put it in my salad. You can nourish an entire family with it if you're just like put it in oil and put it on your salad and stuff like that. So that's probably one of my newest favorite products that we came out with for my healing. Again, I wouldn't say it's number one, but it's a very cool thing. Also, Chlorella Tablets has been a very big thing from us. We work with the biggest distributor of chlorella on the planet. And we have Chlorella Tablets. Everybody knows about them, 1,000 tablets, 250 milligrams per bag. And some people even chew down on them. They taste so good. It's extremely high in chlorophyll. It supposedly breaks through the blood-brain barrier. There's clinical studies saying it's good for all sorts of things, including, I believe it's, for memory loss and stuff like that. Oh, and also for removing heavy metals, definitely. But what we did with our distributor was we infused different herbs into the Chlorella tablets. So we have Chlorella tablets on our website. They're all actually on sale for like $35 each for 1,000 tablets. We have ones that are straight chlorella infused with vicuña, chlorella infused with bacopa, chlorella infused with nattokinase enzyme, shilajit, all the herbs you can possibly think of. We probably have like 12 different types of chlorella tablets. So that's always good for people to take for nutrition purposes. The chlorophyll numbers are off the charts. We just came out with a new cacao powder.
Mm-hmm.
I know many people have stated that their cacao powders are truly raw. I would like to state that this is the first truly raw cacao powder that's ever been seen. I know this because, and most companies are now, for example, the raw chocolate company, Cacao Confections, they stopped calling their product raw because they know that it's not raw chocolate they're using. And the reason why all cacao is not raw is because you need to ferment the cacao bean before you turn it into a powder. And when you ferment the cacao bean, it gets heated above the raw temperatures, like you can't avoid it. And that brings out the chocolate flavor. But we use a company called International Harvest. They're the biggest producer of dried fruits, nuts, and seeds and many superfoods in most of the health food stores. You probably have seen the brand Go Hunza in local health food stores near you. They helped me out in the beginning when I was first getting started, where we got all the legal stuff done with the FDA, with our labeling with them. They really hooked me up. They took me under their wing. I just had a woman say, like, for example, we have we carry a pound of dried jackfruit, papaya slices, dried mangoes, almonds, like all the nuts and seeds, dried fruits, bean cherries, like everything. And she's like, she can't believe how the 1 pound is so much and how tasty this stuff is. But they came out with this cacao powder just recently, and it's kind of like his prized possession. And when you open the bag, it's almost like magnetic, electric. When I took it, like when I was sensitive, all cacao got me high, but now that I'm not raw, I don't feel it anymore. When I took this, I felt it. This cacao powder, what they do is they hand peel the beans, every single one of them. And the secret is when people make cacao powder, they obliterate it by heating it up even more. And when they take the butter out. But what they do with our cacao powder is they keep the butter inside of it, so it doesn't get obliterated like most cacao. So you kind of have the butter inside there too for the fat and the nutrition also. But it tastes amazing, like dark chocolate. Angela likes to eat sugar-free chocolate, so she buys these like chocolate bars with 0 sugar in it. She likes the keto thing. And the cacao powder we have, she tasted it and she just can have that now. She just loves it so much. It's just so good and vibrant, and it looks like iron filings when you open the bag, like energetic, like just bouncing around the thing. I truly believe it's one of the best cacao powders on the planet, and it is actually truly raw, and it's pretty amazing.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
What about talk to us about your CBD and the whole raw CBD thing, because I don't know, it's just like a craze now, and to
Sure.
me, it just doesn't seem authentic that there can be so many different companies involved in this. And I had a guy, guys come into our store. We get emails from CBD companies all the time.
Yeah.
And there was one guy I kind of vibed with, and he was talking about how the intensity and the action and all the goods are really in the flower. And if the companies are using the stems and the leaves, it's kind of like using fillers. So he kind of piqued my attention a little bit to what all this CBD stuff really is. And I've tried many different CBDs, and some of them taste good, and I'm not so sure internally, taking the oil, it's done much for me.
Sure.
Topically, there's a local guy that does like a salve, and that's brought kind of where I've had painful areas, I'd rub it on for a few days, and it would support the healing and the pain and the soreness. But talk to us more about your experience with CBD and where it's come to.
Sure. As I've told you, I feel like I'm on the cutting edge of most superfoods because of my 30 years of it being in business and my connections and things like this. We've always kept the same supplier. We always know our CBD is extremely high quality. Everybody has a story of why their CBD is better, and I've heard many of them too. I get emails all the time for them. Now, what CBD does is it activates CB1 and CB2 receptors in the brain, immune system, and the colon. And it's actually been shown in clinical studies to help many different things. So whether you feel it or not, it doesn't change the fact that it's going to activate these receptors that wouldn't have been activated if you didn't take it. So therefore, if you take CBD, a good CBD, you're going to activate these receptors and create positive chemical reactions in the human body that would not have happened in the past. For example, it's in the immune system. So it educates your immune system to be more powerful. We just came out with a new CBD product. I told you we're always ahead of the game. They are nano CBD crystals. Now, most people, not everybody feels this, because I stated this on my newsletter, and most people were saying, yes, I felt it. But then there's a few people who don't feel it, and then I feel bad about it. So I'm not going to make any claims, but most people feel it in 30 seconds. Nano CBD crystals, the particulate size is like way smaller than any other CBD available. The nanotechnology breaks it down. So it's actually very absorbable to the cells. Supposedly, what Alex was telling me, I think you know him, right? From Raw
Yeah,
Guru guy.
sure. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, 8 to 10 times more absorbable than regular CBD. I took it for the first time. I actually have a little vial of it right here. This is like a very powerful, potent version of it. Here, I'll actually show it to you. I wasn't planning on this. This is just like, it just happened to be. You just take water.
I'm going to ask you about that water machine after you're done with the CBD, but go ahead.
Sure. Okay, so what you do is you just put it in here in the water, and it starts to dissolve into the water. And look at those. Those are crystals dissolving into the water. And after you drink this water, I might sometimes use less water so I don't have to drink so much of it. But I feel it immediately. It's just like a very profound.
I've never really heard of such a product. So is the
It's brand new. It's like cutting edge. It's never been seen before until like now. Soon you're going to start seeing it everywhere.
Yeah.
I feel it already. I feel like a good feeling in my head. There was this one woman, a testimonial, who is addicted to this stuff. I'm totally feeling this right now. Who bought the highest dosage. Like people just kept asking for higher dosages. Like we only did 2,000 milligram, and then we got 4,000 milligram, and now I did an 8,000 milligram like mine right here. And it's just very potent and is the most absorbable because it's nanotechnology is used. You probably have heard of nano silver, where if you were to take like the particulate size, they show you images of like a huge ball and the cell is like small. And then when you do nano particulate size, the particulates are very small and it can actually be absorbed by the cell. And the nano CBD crystals are just a new cutting edge CBD product that's never been seen before. I'm always trying to keep up with things. And we're improving upon it every single day. It's not 100% raw, but the temperature mark where CBD gets impacted is something like high 170s or something. I forgot what it is actually, but we're at 134 degrees. We're trying to get it down to 118. So, but it's very alive, and I still feel it's a very powerful CBD product, and it's nano CBD crystals. We don't have it on our Matt-Monarch website, so I created a dinky website to where the credit card processor there allows it if there's undetectable THC levels. And that website is the rawfoodworld.square.site, S-I-T-E. So it's a Square website, one of those dinky little websites that I created. And then you want to just click on the Raw Food World and then the CBD folder, and then all the CBD products pop up.
Wow, that is cool. So that's the new CBD. And are you still also have the oils for sale?
Yeah, we still have the oils.
Okay. And are you or are there CBD infused chocolates and crackers and gummies and things like that, or is that all just garbage?
I wouldn't say it's garbage, but right at this point we don't sell those.
Okay.
You know, it's like summer months, they're gonna melt, stuff like that.
All right. So while you were giving that great explanation about the CBD, you went back and got some water. So I'm just a raw, a water nut ever since. Speaking of shifts, I'm sure one of our mutual friends from back in the day, Daniel Vitalis, who was Mr. Raw Food, is way away from being Mr. Raw Food now, but he kind of created the spring, well, maybe not so much created, but ended up providing the spring water website, findthespring.com, and it got me hooked. So it's been almost 11 years now since I've pretty much consumed at least what I think is spring water, constantly coming out of the earth in various springs in Connecticut and New England, depending on where we go. But talk to us about your water machine and maybe your water that you drank, before where you lived, and your water journey, because I always find water journeys very interesting.
Sure. I wish I could say this was a very good water. I was always, I don't know if you remember this, but I was always into the distilled water because I was into Norman Walker. I tried to convince Angela to make this distilled water, but she doesn't think that's good. And we're pretty much just doing the standard spring water. It's probably not good. But back in the day, I was big into distilled water. And, people have all these bad things to say about distilled water. And Norman Walker wrote this book saying that's all BS. Once your body has used a mineral, it can't be leached out. And he states what happens is when you take distilled water in, it acts as a magnetic, it has magnetic aspects to where it takes the inorganic minerals out that causes arthritis, all the things, cataracts, all the things that varicose veins, and it actually takes it, magnetizes it, and takes it out through the urine. So when people do tests from doing distilled water and they find minerals in there, it's not our minerals that our body has utilized. It's actually the minerals that have been lodged into our bones and stuff like that, the inorganic stuff. And I did that for decades, and I was even doing that recently when I was at my mom's house, because I had to live there for 4 months before Angela came out. And so that was my journey with water.
I'm just envisioning having a glass of distilled water and you putting in that CBD product that you just showed us, what the difference would be, and would it pop, would it dissolve, would it even look more energetic in distilled water?
Yeah, probably, because there's just like nothing in there.
Wow. Cool stuff. All right, so your store seems to be kind of getting back, and you've got a few different places to go, but what's the main place where people can find the store?
Sure. Yeah, we're loaded with products. I was telling you, we've got the dried fruits, nuts, and seeds too. They're very tasty. They're huge servings at reasonable prices. It's Matt, MATT Monarch, MONARCH.com.
Okay.
Matt-monarch.com.
All right. You know what? I did pull up the Facebook Live. It's on my phone on the side. And I'm sorry, but I have to ask this question to you. So let's go back to when you were raw. I'm sure
Okay.
you were asked 5,000 times. I was asked at least 2,500 times. But how did you used to answer the question about where do you get your protein from?
Um, well, okay, so back in the day when, when you're into this type of thing, you read all the books from all the pioneers that, would talk about this, and I would just be like a parrot repeating everything they would say, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But your body doesn't need so much protein. I mean, my answer now is I feel like the body is extremely resilient, and it's going to work with whatever you give it. If you don't give it what it needs, then in the long run, it's going to have more issues than if you didn't. But it's very resilient, very efficient. In terms of where do you get your protein from? I mean, on a raw food diet, there's plenty of protein in quinoa. I mean, but that's not on a raw food diet. They say like the people in the raw foods movement would say chlorella and wheatgrass is loaded with protein. I mean, whatever. Hemp seeds was supposedly loaded with protein. The nuts, Norman Walker would say all the nuts have like the protein that the body can actually use. He was actually saying that the protein that people eat on a meat diet, the protein isn't even utilized to the degree that you would get from like nuts and nut butters and things like that. I actually did a video on that, where the molecules like in nuts are like in the form that's like ready for the body, and when you eat animal protein, they need to be broken down and redone and put into these protein molecules that are already done, like with the nuts and seeds, and it's like less work on your body. And the truth be told, they're saying that the nuts are the way to get protein.
Yeah, nuts and seeds, been a big part of my life for the past, I don't know, 15 years since I've kind of, got on this journey. But one last question going back, what was it that kind of got you onto this, maybe not so much raw food journey in the beginning, but what was it that started you on the healthy living, healthy eating kind of mindset, and where did those habits originally come from?
Well, if we go way back, when I was really young, I was late in puberty. I was prepubescent. My mom, I was offered these hormone shots, and my mom declined them, and we later found out people had problems who took it. But when when I was younger, I didn't even like me. And when I got to college, because of this whole entire concept of being prepubescent, I became addicted to working out. I got to the point where I was benching 300 pounds, over 300 pounds, like 305 pounds. This little guy was benching 305 pounds. And there was a point where I was eating 6 double In-N-Out burgers a day. That's a lot of burger patties per day.
That's a lot.
But I started to get zits on my face. So I started to, my image was very important. So I started to improve my diet more and more. I stopped eating those fast food. But I was eating Baja Fresh, and I noticed I would get zits still. So I started eating probably like 23 years ago, before I went raw. I started eating like tuna without, I would seriously just eat it straight from the can. Like 2 cans I would just eat. I just cared about like working out, and then it didn't even matter to me. I would eat chicken in the morning. I would put in the toaster. I'd actually put that on bread. I was actually living in New York at the time. I put it on egg bread. I was working at MTV Networks in New York at the time. Yeah, I was pretty much eating. So I was just trying, for my image purposes, I was trying to eat healthier just on my own. And I thought I had a healthy diet. And I was working at MTV Networks, and there was this cool guy. He smoked cigarettes and was into the vegan thing, but wasn't, the healthiest guy. But he said to me, he's like, "What, you think you eat healthy?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, pfft. His brother was a colon therapist, was very much so into Arnold Ehret and Norman Walker. And then he introduced me to the raw food diet. I lost all this weight. I looked weird. I had to start, I couldn't shave my sides anymore because I looked like a skeleton. I just let my hair grow really long. And he gave me this book when I was just like at wit's end because it wasn't working for me, like eating not 100% raw, but pretty healthy, because I was eating healthy for 3 months the way he said. And I was on a set at MTV, and I had a piece of pizza and a Subway sandwich, which I haven't eaten in the 3 months. And I was so sensitive already. I puked all night in the bathroom, and I ran to his office. I'm like, I'm done with this because I can't live like this. And then he handed me the Norman Walker book. I read it overnight, and then I went 100% raw the next day.
And that was it. That was the day that started your raw 20+ year journey.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty amazing. Now, talk to us about, if you don't mind, if you don't need to talk about this, if you don't want, but bringing up children in this kind of world, whole food, some raw food, some fruits and vegetables. How do you do it? I mean, how do you get them to eat healthy? Or just tell us your thoughts. And I'm sure between you and Angela, they didn't really get a choice early in life not to eat healthy. But just give us some insight on how your children are doing in the world of kind of whole food eating.
Sure. Well, firstly, they don't really have access to the other stuff. We've, homeschool, they don't go to school, so they don't see anything. They have friends in Ecuador who might have not eaten the best, but they were already raised with eating what they eat. So, it was natural. It was very easy. We're not 100% strict on what they eat these days, because I don't want them to be restricted like I was or anything like that. But they pretty much stick to the whole food stuff anyways, like potatoes, eggs, things like this. It's like their mainstay. But ice cream they eat, like what kids like and stuff like that. Like we're not gonna let them experience things, and so, but they pretty much eat healthy for the most part, especially compared to most people.
Right. And have you had conversations, or have they come to you ever saying, oh geez, when I eat this or when I overeat, or are they able to tune in a little bit to the food body connection?
Yeah. Araya will just be like, I don't feel well. When she'll eat so much, like for example, when we have that pizza day once a month or something, she's just like a mess, and like we get the gluten-free pizza because of that. And she just she's very in tune with her body and stuff like that. And they both, like, they're not going to finish their plate if there's leftovers if they don't want it.
And tell us a little bit more about them, because I love hearing about kids. Are they bookworms? Do they like athletics? Do you take them hiking? What do they do in the homeschool world for exercise and things like that?
Well, we've got all sorts of books and math and reading and writing and all these other things. The little one isn't really that age yet. She's only 4. But the 8-year-old is, just started, a little bit ago. And, we work with them, and I'm actually going to be getting a tutor to help out also. And that they pretty much just she just works on those types of things. We have fun. Like, I'm sure you heard of like sight words, where like it's like the main, like we have a deck of cards with like the sight words on them, which are the key main 100 to 300 words that kids should learn to read. So we like put a card up and she reads it, and then we do the next card. We do things like that. And then they're beautiful as can be. It's ridiculous. I don't even know what is going on here. I wish they're both in the bath now, but like, it's just ridiculous. Like,
So here's another question I want to ask too, from a, a parent standpoint, where are you and Angela right now with TV? Do you have one? Do you allow certain amount of watching? And also kids and cell phones. Has the 8-year-old even kind of been asking? Is it an option? Where are you stand with that? Because I'm now really delving into the 5G and all the electromagnetic activity and trying to learn as much as I can about that. And I always tend to ask, parents where they are with their kids and how they feel about it.
Sure. We don't have a TV. Um, they both have an iPad, and Angela restricts them to only watching it when they're eating, like meal times and stuff like that. And, a couple other times, depending on when it is. So there's a lot of restriction going on. And she makes them do other things instead. They go on hikes a lot. They love parks, things like that. The news is absolutely crazy. When I was living at my mom's house, it's just insane. Like, it's almost like entertaining. And the majority of people are brainwashed by that stuff. You know what I mean? Like CNN and stuff like that. Anyway, I don't want to like say I don't want to say like if someone's into that type of thing that you're brainwashed or anything like that. But it's pretty crazy. Like, for example, they'll take one line of someone they don't like. They'll have one sentence from a speech. They'll have 3 experts. This person wrote this book. This person did this. This person did this. And then they'll all just like attack this person. It's almost like there's an agenda going on. It was funny to watch, and I went back to my mom's recently just to visit her, and it was so painful to watch. I couldn't even do it. It was just crazy. But yeah, it's just crazy what's going on in the world with all that fun stuff.
Yeah, yeah, no, there definitely is an agenda. And my last podcast interview I did with Lisa Wilson, which I'm going to be putting out soon, she just really ripped into it and did a lot of explaining on where it's coming from and why. But I thought we'd kind of tie up here before I give you an opportunity to talk more about your story and what's hot in there now besides what you talked about. Tell us about your kind of vibe with this whole COVID thing. Do you have an opinion on it? Have you done any really serious looking into it, or is it just something that's out there that's like not affecting you, so you're not really worried about it?
Well, I don't want to get any people hating me or anything like this, but I'm just going to do it. Back in my day when I was young, someone gets the chicken pox, you just throw the kids together, just get it over with. So me personally, I think it's like the biggest hoax in the world. I can't stand it. I'm happy. I don't mind. Personally, like, I live in my house. I like staying here all day. Like, I'm not as active as I used to be. I just love being with my family, hanging out with them all day. I'm not impacted too much. It's actually been great because I saved so much money by not having to go to restaurants and trampoline parks and all these different things. It's almost like a blessing on some level. I got a stimulus check. I mean, I kind of, it was actually, kind of, I can't stand it, but on another level, I feel bad for the people who have lost jobs and things like this, unfortunately. That's what I can't stand because of this lying BS. I feel like it has to do a lot with the president's election that's happening right now because they want to like stop the flow of everything to, alter the election in any way they can to make it look like everything looks horrible. You're doing a bad job, things like that. So it's heartbreaking. It's very heartbreaking. And I think like, there was one period where I was sick for 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. And it was horrible. I had the worst cough. I don't know if I had COVID, but it's no different than the flu. First I had it and then my kids got it, but we weren't like hiding out to not get it or anything like that. I don't necessarily know. And we probably wasn't even COVID, but whenever I ask people, do they think they had it? Everyone always says yes. It's almost like an experiment. I put the question on Facebook once too, and like 100 people think they had it, but they never been tested. but it doesn't even matter. It's like more people die from the flu, statistics said, but who knows what really is going on. It's just, and then everybody believes it, and they're so fearful, and they're staying home, and like, I can't see my mom, and my family like hates me. It's just like, it's just weird. It's just crazy stuff.
It is crazy, crazy times. Well, let's kind of tie up and end with your store. Some more stuff. Just tell me. I'm gonna pop on there right after we get off with this call, and what are some things I should check out and look for, and other than the nuts and the seeds and the CBD products. I mean, tell us more things that you have on there.
Okay. Well, at matt-monarch.com, there's all sorts of things. We have these QBC pendants. I don't know if you remember her from TLC, who, anyways, they have these nano crystals of like, not CBD crystals, but like crystals, actual crystals that help with, the 5G and radiation. And they came to our warehouse and we did a video. I have this video on YouTube. You could probably just write QBC or Quantum on my YouTube channel, Matt Monarch's YouTube channel, or the Raw Food World. And it actually took aura pictures, and you could wear up to 3 of these pendants to where it impacts the aura picture, and they're all different colors. There's like 12 different colors, so it impacts like the chakra aspects depending on the color. It's like color therapy too, but you can do up to 3 to where it changes your aura picture, but then after that it doesn't impact it anymore. And that's just a very powerful thing. You might be able to feel it, and it's just really good at in these day and age, especially when there's 5G radiation. They're QBC pendants. We have shower filters. It takes out chlorine, which can help beautify you, because chlorine will just like burn out your hair and skin, and this will just block it. And hopefully the water feels wetter. It's pretty cool. I was telling you about the B12 product, the Tetrasod, marine phytoplankton, all those nuts and seeds we were talking about. The cacao powder, the truly raw cacao powder. We have all the superfoods, maca, things like that. We have all the sunwear products. There's so many things. I feel like looking at the website so I could tell you, but
you were the first one. I always thought maca was maca. It came in its little tan color or whatever, but I learned from you that there's different kinds of maca. There's black maca, right?
Yeah. There's black maca, red maca, and yellow maca. All have different clinical studies showing different benefits. We only carry the yellow right now, just because this was happening. But that one has the most amount of clinical studies that that was the most beneficial for women with their hormones and things like that. Black maca was more beneficial for men and sperm count, things like that. And the red maca was good for the prostate in men. So yeah, they all have different benefits. It was interesting and they did clinical studies testing all 3 macas, and like the black maca only worked for this certain aspect, and the red maca only worked for the male prostate. And so it's very interesting.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's tie up, and man, this was great. I'm so glad we got together and did this. It's been probably, I don't know, almost 12 to 15 years since we've been in the same room together. So thanks for taking some time. I hear one of the child at least making some noise back there. So you got some parenting to do. But one last time, give us the website and some final parting thoughts.
Yeah, it's matt-monarch.com. The CBD with the nano CBD crystals is the raw food world square.site, S-I-T-E site, that's it. And again, I guess like my parting thoughts are like, be grateful for everything you have, your health, your ability to walk, even your ability to breathe, everything. I mean, trust me, I am. So like, I've learned my lessons the hard way, and I hope everybody can be grateful for what they have.
Well, Matt, thanks again. I'm looking at you. You look great. I'm glad that you're back in that world of healthy living while the diet has changed. I look at the raw food thing as being a cleansing period for a lot of people, and then life moves on, and diets change, and it's all about how you feel and your health, and of course the blood work. So again, thanks for looking great, and thanks for taking some time.
Thanks, Glenn. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, brother.